Have you ever wondered why you're still attracting your old life? The same old opportunities, the same old relationships, the same old salary, even though you've done the inner work, even though you are clearer about what it is you want next, even though you feel ready. Well, today I want to invite you to check in one place that we often forget to have a look, and that is your physical world. In your home, in your workspace, in your environment, in the objects that surround you, in your clothes, even. Because often our old life is right there in plain sight, in the things that we wear, the things that we use, the things that we sit beside. And the question I want to ask you is, what is that signaling to your future self? What is that signaling to the universe? Because this is something that I've been noticing in my own life. And I really feel this could be that one little tweak that could absolutely change everything for your manifestations. So let's dive into it. Welcome to Higher Self Mastery, the podcast for women ready to leave behind who they were told to be and remember who they truly are. I'm your host, Dami Schumacher. This is your space to come home to yourself, to honor the inner pull for more truth and more depth, and more meaning as you enter a new chapter of your life. Together, we're reframing midlife crisis into the midlife magic that it actually is, because this is your rebirth. Through soulful conversations and spiritual tools, you'll reconnect to your truth and reclaim your voice and live the life that your soul came here for. So let's begin. So today, I really want to share something that I've been reflecting on a lot in the past week. I was doing some deep dives into my visibility and how I show up and how I want to represent who I am, not just as a personal brand, but in my personal life, in my relationships, my personal relationships, in all areas of my life. And as I began to do the work and started to dive deeper about who I am at the very core of my being, in the most authentic, pure essence, and then having a look at what is in my environment, I found that there was a major mismatch. And it occurred to me that the reason I'd overlooked this for so long is because my external world, my life and my home and everything in it, everything that I encompass within that, because it's something that we gradually accumulate, we piece together year after year, day after day, week after week. It's not something that just suddenly happens overnight. It's this gradual growth. And at some points, it absolutely may have been a genuine, authentic reflection of who I was at one point in my life. But more often than not, a lot of it was probably just me experimenting as well, trying new things out. And what I really noticed was this stark contrast between how I want to express myself, who I feel like I am, the very energy and essence of who is Dami at the very core, and how she wants to express herself and how she wants to be visible in this material realm, in this world. And what I currently see just don't really match up. Now, there are elements within my current environment, in my current lifestyle, that do reflect her. But there's so much, and if I'm being honest, if I was to weigh it up, there are more things in my environment and in my life that actually don't match up. They're just parts of me that I've outgrown. They're parts of me that I tried on for size and never really fit, but then I haven't fully removed them from my life. And what's really interesting about this is that it's easy to think, oh, well, it's just another thing. It's just another object. It's just another piece of clothing. It's another piece of furniture. It's another way that I just happen to design that particular room, where I arranged everything. Um, like, it's not such a big deal, but actually it all accumulates and it all adds up to be your visibility, like how we are perceived by others, how we want to be perceived by others, how we want the universe to perceive us. Because ultimately, what it is, it's about our energetic frequency. So if I'm vibrating at a very mixed frequency, which I can now see I am, then it's never going to be a clear signal for the universe to meet me halfway on the very things that I want, on the kind of lifestyle that I want. And even though the vision is really clear, and I do a lot of deep dives into my soul, into my inner child, the shadow work. I love all that. And I truly, truly feel everyone should make space and time to get into that, because we can really uncover a lot. I'm much better as well at taking a lot of aligned action in terms of like making things happen, making those phone calls, booking those venues, reaching out and making those collaborations and those matches and those networks. So I felt like I was doing the work as well, like physically, and taking the aligned action. But what I realized was that there was this one missing piece, which was so obviously staring me in the face. But because it's something that I see every single day of my life and something that's just grown with me, I failed to notice it. And these are the things in my office. These are the contents of my wardrobe. This is the contents of my makeup bag, my jewelry stand. This is the contents of my home, the furniture that I have, and what my garden looks like, and all of those kind of things. Now, of course, I mean, I'm, you know, a part of a family unit. So they're beyond my wardrobe, beyond my office, and those sort of things. There is, of course, going to be a mix. There is, of course, going to be a fusion and a compromise for what the whole family needs, right? So we're not talking about forcing your identity and forcing how you want to visibly express yourself onto anybody else. But there's certainly so much that I can do that I am currently not doing. And for me, where it really stood out and how it stood out was when I was doing these exercises, I looked on Pinterest, right? And if you don't have Pinterest, I highly recommend creating a board, just a private board for yourself. It's such a great creative space, especially if you struggle to be visual, because it can really be helpful to give you ideas. And just started to create a board of all the things that just make me stop and pay attention. Like, what am I attracted to? And the more you do that and start to pin them, start to put them in a board, you're able to start to see a thread. You're able to start to see a pattern of what it is you're collecting, what it is that really catches your attention, what it is that really makes you feel expansive or you feel magnetized towards. Because when we're magnetized or drawn to something, it is because there is a part of us that desires it. There is a part of us where that is actually our true expression as well. And for whatever reason, we are just currently not expressing it ourselves. And that very much was the case for me. I was looking at my Pinterest board and looking at all these different images that I collected. And I'm like, they just made me feel so sacred and connected, and it felt real, and it felt so expansive. I keep saying the word expansive, but I'm struggling to find a more expanded word than the word expansive. But when you feel like it fits so well, and you would just immediately, you can see yourself in that world, living and breathing and being a part of that world. That's how it felt. And I looked at all of those images, and I then looked at, because there was quite a lot of, in my case, there was quite a lot of clothing pieces that kept on coming up and have been coming up, if I'm honest, for a few years now, right? And then I opened up my wardrobe and I looked inside my wardrobe, and I was just like, what I am attracted to, what I am magnetized by, the kind of woman that I want to be in terms of how I clothe myself and visually dress myself, and the contents of what's in my wardrobe, there's just almost zero correlation here. Like, there's maybe a few pieces that do represent that woman. The rest of it is belong to an old Dami, belong to somebody that I once was. That's not to say, and this is where I've been getting it wrong, I can pull out a piece of clothing and still appreciate its beauty, still appreciate that it's a lovely garment or a lovely cardigan or a beautiful dress. And because I can appreciate the fashion of it, because I can appreciate that it would look amazing on me or on someone else, I am confusing the fact that it actually doesn't represent the woman that I am really trying to step into being. And therefore, does it have a place? I'm asking that question of myself. Does it have a place any further in my life? Now, I'm not encouraging you to go out there and completely revamp your lives, right? Like, throw everything out and start from scratch. I mean, if you so feel called, then by all means go and do that. But you take full responsibility if you want to be that radical, right? We all have to discern for ourselves as responsible adults how quickly we do these things, and what we choose to do and how much we choose to change and eliminate. And even for me, like, when I look at the wardrobe, and I stick with this wardrobe example because it just demonstrates it so well. As initially, my thought was, oh, I'll call it right back, right? I love that. I love being a little bit dramatic and going from one extreme to the other sometimes, right? But I know better now just to not get carried away in those emotions and to sit with these things as well. So initially, my first reaction was, I'm just going to call it right back, and I'm just going to hold on to like 4 or 5 pieces. I don't need any more clothes than that. 4 or 5 pieces isn't like more than enough to just sustain me and keep me going, right? Until I decide to build on that, or maybe not even. But then a very interesting thing happened. So I began to start, this is all an internal dialogue in my head. I was like, oh, but if I need to or want to go and work out and do some sports, then I'll have to keep some sports clothes. Okay, we'll keep a few sports clothes. But what if I do go to that kind of event? Then I'll need to sort of hold on to that sort of style of clothes. Okay, maybe you could hold on to a couple of pieces there. Oh, but that skirt and that dress, I've only just bought it. Like, it's such a great find, and I've only worn it the once. Like, if I get rid of it now, I know I'll regret it, because there'll be an opportunity at some point in the future where I'll want to wear it and I won't have it because I've given it away. And then I went into this sort of mindset, right? And it made me go into like, hold on a second, where is this coming from? And the question I'd like to ask you, if you decide to do this, right, and this could be in any area of your life, is to ask yourself, is the action coming from a place of expansion, or is it coming from a place of fear or scarcity? And for me, in full honesty, much of the holding on to these different items of clothing was actually coming from a place of scarcity and fear. The scarcity that if I got rid of it all, I may not be able to replace my wardrobe. The scarcity that I'd invested money in this. and time as well in choosing and picking out these things. And maybe I haven't got as much wear out of them like I would have wanted. So I need to hold on to them until I've got a bit more value out of them. Um, and the fear that, what if I change my mind, right? What if I change my mind and I decide that actually I am more than one of these identities when it comes to my clothes, right? And by which point I've already bagged it all up and sent it all off to the charity shop. But then there's another really interesting question that I'd like you to ask yourself. And that is, and you'll hear this so many times, you hear me saying this so many times in many different contexts. If money were no object, what would you do? And that was a really easy question for me to answer. And the answer was, well, then, yeah, I'd cull it right back. Because if money were no object, then if I wanted more clothes, well, I'd just go and acquire more clothes. I like to buy secondhand, so I'm not sort of saying, encouraging like this mindless consumer behavior in any way. To give my old clothes into the charity, circulate it into the secondhand industry, and as much as possible, purchase from the secondhand industry as well. So if money were no object, then I would just go out and buy new things if I needed to, or acquire new things if I needed to, right? I wouldn't have this fear of letting go of what I already have in quite the way maybe that I am feeling it at the moment. And that in itself was a really good signal to say, okay, well, then just let it go. Just let it go. What will be in 3 years' time, what will be in 6 months' time will be. And you'll cross that bridge when you come to it. But for the moment, Dami, while you're sending out this mixed signal, right? While you've got all this streetwear, you've got all this sportswear, you've got all this really cool, funky stuff over here, and then you've got the really soft, feminine stuff over here. Now, if you are all of those different identities, then fine. And I used to be that person where I like to have different identities that in terms of how I express myself through my clothing. And maybe a part of that is still true for me. But at the moment, the way that I feel, it is so focused in how I want to look, in how I want to feel. And that's what it really comes down to, is how I feel. Because remember, the frequency is not generated through a wish. The frequency is down to your feeling. You have to feel it. It's embodied expression. It's an embodied frequency. So in order to send out the frequency that you want to magnetize more of, the identity in which you are trying to step into, what you're trying to call in, then you have to feel that way. And for me, and I think this is true for most people, is that we do feel as good as how we are dressed, and what we wear very, very much helps us to feel a certain way. So if I am wearing soft, flowy linens and cottons and fabrics and dyed with natural dyes and pigments and natural colors, I am going to feel more soft. I am going to feel more feminine. I am going to feel more connected to the earth. I am going to feel more grounded, as opposed to if I wore a pair of sports leggings and a hoodie. It's just going to give you a very, very different feeling. So this is really interesting for me, because once I started to unpack this whole wardrobe part of my physical environment, my physical life, it got me looking and thinking about other places in my life. And because for me, I probably spend more time in this office than any other room in my home. this is naturally the next place that I started looking. And I started looking around my office and I was like, okay, right. I set this office up about 5, maybe 6 years ago when I first started this business. But I've changed and evolved and grown so much since then. But for the most part, the office has probably stayed the same. And does it reflect who I am becoming? Does it reflect who I have become on the inside? And the short answer is no, not really. I'm not saying there's as big a cull to do here, but there is definitely some work to be done in here, um, so that it does help me when I am doing that work, when I am writing that copy, when I am creating those workshops, when I am doing these recordings like this as well, right? So for me, but also to magnetize the right clientele as well. What do other people see? Because I can be a magnet for clients, but do I want to continue to attract my old clients? Or do I want to attract my new clients, the clients that I really want to continue working with? Um, and that is going to definitely be determined by how people perceive me, what I say, how I show up, my energy, but also visually as well, like what people see. So watch this space if you're watching on YouTube, and that's where you normally catch these episodes, then watch this space because all of this is about to change. I feel there's definitely a big shift that needs to take place here. Our external world really needs to reflect our internal world as it changes so that we can be vibrating at the right frequency for what we're calling in, so that it is a clear message to the universe. So there isn't any confusion about where the universe is meeting us and how it is going to help us to co-create. And also so that the energy is not diluted. Because if you're still vibrating at lots of different frequencies and they have mixed identities, well, then all of that energy that is available to you is just going in lots of different places, which is making it less potent for you to then call in what it is you're calling. And we're about to enter this beautiful harvest season of manifestation at its peak. Summer is this time of year where we are all taking action, where we all have the energy, where there is a lot going on, and in the most wonderful ways if we have done all of the preparation work earlier in the year. And so this is the time where we are able to reap the rewards of all of our hard work. And that doesn't mean you just get to sit back and not do anything. It's so important to ensure that we do receive what we're calling in, to just keep checking in and keep doing those little tweaks and those little refinements. And this is one of those little refinements. Like, I really thought had done so much of that internal work, had done so much of the clarity work, the vision work, the seeding, like what it is I want to call in. This is what I see for myself for 2026. This is how I'd like it to unfold. I'm doing the inner child work. I'm doing the shadow work, doing the unblocking, da, 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 da. And then when this came up, I was just like, oh shit, like completely missed it. Just completely missed looking at my physical environment. It could be the car that you're driving. It could be, the things that you've got around, the ornaments that you've got around in your house. It could be the contents of your kitchen pantry. If your objective, one of your key objectives this year is your health, like, are you just buying and doing the same old shop that you've always done, just out of habit? Are you cooking in the same ways? Or have you are there little refinements and tweaks that you can do that is going to be more supportive of this new identity that you're stepping into, that you're calling in, the person that you really, really, truly are inside. So it's looking at all of these things, because once they may have served us, and once they were a part of our old identity, somebody who used to be. But now it's time to give thanks with love and lovingly retire them. And what I would like you to take away from this episode today is just to check in for yourself and just choose one area of your life. Like, think about what area of your life that's really at the forefront of your mind in terms of where you want to grow and evolve and change. Is it your career? Is it your relationships? Is it your health, your time, money, freedom? Which particular area is the biggest change that you're hoping to create, or where you feel like you're always just on the precipice and it's just always a fingertip away, like you never quite get there and you feel like you've done all of the other work? In that particular area of your life, I invite you to ask yourself, what, if anything, is still present in the physical world, in the material world, that actually doesn't align with the woman that I have now become on the inside? The woman that I'm waiting to unleash. And maybe, like it was for me, maybe it is looking in your wardrobe. Maybe it is looking in your social media and getting rid of a whole bunch of people that you just don't follow, accounts that you don't follow. Maybe it's old notebooks. Maybe it's an old altar, your bookshelf, books that doesn't represent who you are anymore. Could be anything, right? Clear out your bedroom, clear out your phone, your contacts list. And this isn't just an exercise for clearing clutter to create space so that what we are calling in has room, has a vacuum to fill. Absolutely, there is that element of it. But this is so much more about making sure that the frequency that we are portraying and creating in our physical and external environment matches the frequency that we feel and are vibrating from the core of our essence and our being, and bringing those two to match so that it can become this clear signal that we are emitting to potential clients, to new relationships, to new friendships, to the universe, to just out there to life. So then we magnetize the very things that we really, really do want. Please do let me know how you get on with this. I'd love to hear what it is that you discover and what you choose to tweak and change to match the woman that you are inside. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye. Before we finish today's episode, I just wanted to let my lovely local listeners know that I've created a brand new in-person offering called A Sacred Exhale. These are beautiful, reflective gatherings for women who are tired of carrying the stress and the heaviness of the week into their weekend and are craving a space to pause, breathe, reconnect, and reset in a more intentional way. Each session will be shaped around seasonal living, natural cycles, and lunar energies, weaving together a delicious fusion of practices such as meditation, breathwork, journaling, movement, intention setting, rituals, and soulful conversations. The gatherings are taking place at BWB, The Collective in Whetstone in Leicestershire, and I'll pop the booking link in the show notes if your soul is whispering, I need this. I would absolutely love to welcome you into this space. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Higher Self Mastery. If something landed, moved you, or sparked a shift, I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to follow, subscribe, and share this episode with a woman in your life that is also ready to rise. And if you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to rate and review this podcast, especially in these early days. It really helps others to find this work too. If you're craving deeper support and sisterhood, join my mailing list using the link below, where you'll be the first to receive free meditations, learn about up-and-coming retreats, and other ways that we can work together. Until next time, honor your truth and trust in the timing of your becoming.